Hey guys, welcome back to Better Pet Parents and thank you for being here. So today I'm going to start with telling you a secret. And that's that in my time working professionally with animals, if you've been following along, then you know that I've mentioned that I've worked as a professional dog groomer for many years, more than 10 years now. In that time, I've spent a lot of time being angry. And that's the secret, is that a lot of people perceive working with animals to be so joyful and to be fun all the time, and it absolutely isn't. There's a lot involved with working professionally with animals and their people. And I'm not a veterinarian, I'm just a veterinarian appreciator, but anybody who works with animals, whether it's in a veterinary hospital or grooming like me or whatever the capacity they're in, it's a difficult line of work for many reasons. And for me, it sparked a lot of anger in me, and that was because I constantly ran into situations where I would see that an animal was not being properly cared for, that it was not always because a person couldn't afford to give the animal health care. You know, a lot of people think, well, not everybody can afford that, and that's true. A lot of people can't afford to give proper health care to animals. Funds are limited when things happen. Expensive surgeries come up that not everyone can swing. Of course, I understand that. But there's a fine line between funds and not caring. And I found that the majority of the time that I got angry, it was because people didn't care. It wasn't that they didn't have the money. Sometimes I would roll up in my grooming van to houses that looked like they cost $1 million, and the people who owned the dog there didn't care about something as simple as an ear infection, for example. So there was situations all the time. Now, to be clear, I ran into clients over the years who were wonderful people, wonderful pet owners, wonderful clients, and I've loved having their business. I've loved working for them. But I've also worked for a lot of people that didn't care about their animals, and it was always so obvious, and it made me very angry. And in my community here, in my little town, I think people think of me as, oh, Carson the dog groomer, but I always was carrying around this secret anger about my job and about what I would run into on a daily basis, and it got to be a problem for me. And I would tell my husband about it all the time. I would say, I really don't think I can do this for the rest of my life, because I was always angry. And instead of dwelling on that forever, eventually I started thinking about what I could do differently. And that's what inspired me to start Better Pet Parents here with you. I think that I wanted to prove myself wrong, that I was always in this mood where I would think to myself, most people don't care. Most people don't care. I had loved my pet with all my heart during my chapter of pet parenthood, and I was so angry when I would constantly run into situations where people didn't care as much as I had. And I couldn't understand that, and it made me so bitter. To be completely honest, it made me very bitter. And I think eventually I just wanted to prove myself wrong, and that's why I started Better Pet Parents. I wanted to create a space that celebrated the people who did care. I wanted there to be a way that I could see more positivity in the world, that maybe I could encourage more positivity in the world in a way that I couldn't always do in the capacity in which I was currently working. So I just want to take a moment to thank you for being one of the better pet parents out there, because that's not a slogan for me, that's personal for me. Because when I would work with pet parents all the time, I would instantly make a judgment in my mind about whether I thought they cared or not. And it just got old, and it got tiring, and I got angry, and I just wanted there to be a way that we could all come together to learn to be better pet parents, that we could celebrate those special animals in our lives, how much joy they bring, how awesome they are. I mean, there's nothing like a friendship with an animal, and I wanted to create a space that celebrates that. So today I'm going to read you the mission statement for Better Pet Parents. It is to inspire a spirit of learning within pet parents, to celebrate the human-animal bond, to spread positivity among pet parents, to create a supportive community for pets and their families, and to encourage pet parents to be the heroes in their pets' stories. So I want you to know that Better Pet Parents, for me, is an experiment. It's an online brand that I'm creating. It's an experiment for me personally. It's completely out of my comfort zone for me to be putting videos of myself on the internet. It's also completely out of my means to be doing anything with technology because I'm just a person who hangs out in a van with dogs all day, so this is not my forte. It was an experiment for my finances to start a retail brand. But we're just rolling with it, and we're going to see what happens because, again, I wanted to create a space where I could celebrate the Better Pet Parents, and I wanted to prove to myself that most people do care. I wanted to put myself in an environment where I could see that most people do care because I was exhausted being in a mindset all the time where I thought most people don't. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this audience and this community, and I hope it grows. I really do hope it grows, and I hope that it can encourage exactly what the mission statement says. So I do make a promise this early on in this journey that Better Pet Parents will not put out any products that doesn't roll with that mission statement. Everything that we do is going to be targeted at achieving what the mission statement sets out to do. So the last time that we were here, we talked about My Vet Notes, which is the first product for Better Pet Parents. We talked about last time everything that's involved in the veterinarian's job. We talked about how difficult it can sometimes be to create a treatment plan for special needs animals and how you can help facilitate that treatment plan by relaying information about what's happening at home to your doctor. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more this time about My Vet Notes. My Vet Notes is a journal. It has 90 journal entries, a profile section, a notes section, and a diabetic section. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's on the daily journal entries. If you do purchase My Vet Notes, it lasts about 3 months if you're doing daily journal entries. If you're not doing daily journal entries, you could still utilize it maybe once or twice a week just so you can give your veterinarian the gist of what's going on. They may not need to know everything every day if most days look the same. If you just want to use it to record days that are out of the norm that you think might help your veterinarian understand the picture of what's going on at home, then it could certainly last you longer than 90 days. But in this daily journal entry, we're going to show you a little bit more about what's in here. So it's going to ask for what food was eaten, what medication was given. It asks about bowel and urinary habits for that day, significant events such as seizures. It asks about your pet's mood that day, such as lethargy, energetic, confusion, things like that. Notes for you to record anything in particular that day. And then the most important thing that I want you to know that I included in this design for the daily journal entries is kind of like a quality of life for the day at the bottom. So at the bottom, you're going to see that it says, today was mostly good, an equal mix of good and bad, or it was mostly negative. And the reason that I included that is that when you are caring for a special needs animal, I know that sometimes it can be very difficult to evaluate on your own, with your family, and with your veterinarian, what the quality of life is really looking like. And when I was designing My Vet Notes, I got to thinking about that, and I thought, it was difficult for me personally to evaluate my own dog's quality of life during my chapter of pet parenthood. And I think that one thing that might have made it a little bit easier is if I had just asked myself, what did today look like? So that when you are on that journey and you're trying to give your pet the best, you're trying to give your pet what he or she deserves, and you're trying to weigh, does that mean that I keep prolonging healthcare or not? That difficult question that you're going to face sometimes when you are on this journey, I think can be a little easier if you just take it day by day. So if you just honestly say at the end of a day, was today mostly good, an equal mix of good and bad, or it was mostly bad? And just say, I'm not evaluating the whole, I'm just evaluating today, and mark it honestly. That's for you. That your veterinarian might look at that, but that's for you. And that's so that if you are taking daily notes and you are dealing with a challenge like that, you can say when it is time to truly evaluate a decision, well, let me look back at my records and honestly ask myself, are we having more good days or more bad? And I think that it would be easier to make a decision like that if you're making a choice on the daily and then looking back at the data, rather than asking yourself and putting yourself under that kind of pressure to evaluate as a whole. So next we have the notes section, which is there for you to take notes in the exam room with your veterinarian, for you to record conversations that you have on the phone with your veterinarian, or any instructions that you want to remember that they gave you about how to administer medication, that kind of thing. And then, of course, we also have that diabetic section. So when I was caring for my own diabetic pet, I used to take notes at home for his information and for his data, and I used to put the blood glucose reading for the day on the same page as I logged everything else. So it would have been like the equivalent of what the daily journal entries are in this product. And I would take that information to his internist, and she would say to me, Carson, I really love that you're bringing me these blood glucose values, but I don't want to see the blood glucose reading on Tuesday's journal entry. I want to see glucose in the form of a chart. And so I said, okay, I'll fix it. And so I started recording glucose in the form of a chart. So when we designed my vet notes, we knew from experience that your doctor is going to want to see the glucose in the form of a chart. And that's why it's arranged in here the way it is, instead of being a part of the daily journal entries. So I do just want to take a minute, though, to talk about testing blood sugar at home. So the general consensus is going to be that most veterinarians discourage blood glucose testing at home. That's because they don't want people to start testing blood glucose and react emotionally to the numbers that they're seeing. We pet parents who are not veterinarians do not always know what's best for our pet in terms of dosing, and so veterinarians don't want us trying to take insulin doses into our own hands and putting our pets at risk of bottoming out. Let's say that you test the blood glucose and you're seeing something outrageously high, like 450, and then you're giving an insulin dose that's exaggerated, and therefore your pet could be at risk of literally a fatal accident at that point. So veterinarians usually warn against trying to do blood glucose testing. But in those types of situations, it's because the dosing is the problem, not the testing. So, you know, the risk there is people trying to take the insulin dose into their own hands based on the numbers they're seeing. If you're truly just testing to relay the information to your veterinarian, then your veterinarian could say, okay, I'm seeing that we're really high. Let's go up a few units on the daily dose of insulin, or whatever they may decide based on the data. But please know that Better Pet Parents does know that most veterinarians do discourage it. We understand why, and your decision whether or not to test glucose if you do have a diabetic case is strictly up to you and your veterinarian. We're just here to help facilitate that relay of information of what's happening at home to your doctor, so that you guys can therefore form the best treatment plan to give your pet the best quality of life. So another reason that your doctor might discourage doing glucose testing at home is if the pet gets too stressed out by that. So anytime that any of us are making decisions about how to treat our animals, medically or how to test them. Any decisions like that we're making always need to be based on whether or not what we're doing has more benefit than risk. So if you have a diabetic case and the animal is running and hiding underneath the furniture for hours after trying to do a glucose test, or it tries to bite because it got so agitated by that glucose test, those are situations where it's just not going to add value. It's not going to add quality of life to your pet to be doing those tests. So we absolutely understand that it's not going to be right for everybody, but it is there if you do need it and if it is right for you. So in my own personal case, I felt like it was right for us just because when I was taking my dog to have a glucose curve in the office, I didn't feel like we were getting accurate information in terms of like what it would do at home. Like I felt like what it was doing in the office was different than what it was doing at home. And the data we were getting in the office didn't apply all the time to what things were like in his home life. And so I said to my veterinarian, I said, I really want to learn how to do this properly, just like I learned how to do insulin injections, and I want to do it right, and I want to be trusted with this so that we can get him on a better insulin management program here, that works better and gives him more quality. And another thing that you need to keep in mind too, if you're managing a diabetic case, is that not every animal has a great site on their body for doing blood glucose testing. So in my case, I had a Chihuahua mix. He had bright ears, and I could see a vein running right up that ear where it really didn't stress him out or anything for me to test from there, and it was nice and quick and easy, and that's why I was able to have that data all the time. But a lot of times if it's like a really dark, like a solid black dog, and you have a hard time even seeing the skin through that dark hair, you might have too much trouble trying to find a site to test. Or if you feel like the only place on your pet's body is the paw pad, it might just be more trouble than it's worth. But again, the glucose chart is here in my vet notes if you need it. And if you are a candidate for glucose testing and you feel like that can add value to your pet's life, then by all means have a conversation with your doctor about learning the proper way to do it, the way that it will cause your pet the least amount of stress, and just use it to get on the right dose. And I hope that it helps, and I hope that you guys can come to whatever decision is best for your pet. And I do just want to say too that we know here at Better Pet Parents that not everybody needs this diabetic section in my vet notes. So I know that those of you out there that still are interested in using my vet notes but don't have a diabetic case are probably thinking, I really don't need this diabetic section. And we are working diligently to create a second edition of this product that doesn't have the diabetic section. It'll just have 20 more pages of the daily journal entries for you guys that don't need that glucose chart. But getting started, we just had to make a version that everyone could use. So just bear with us as we work to get more variations of this product out. My vet notes is going to be available very soon on Amazon, probably sometime in the next few weeks. So make sure that you subscribe to our email list to stay in the loop about when this gets released. It is going to be a limited quantity to start with, but we're going to do everything that we can to get it restocked as soon as possible and to reach those of you with it that need this method to collect data at home and relay it to your doctors. I sincerely hope that it helps you in the management of your pet's care, and I hope it adds quality of life for you and for your pet. I know that you'll get a gold star from your doctor for doing all of these at-home medical records because you are one of the ones who care, and being one of the ones who care puts you in a league above, and I can say that from personal experience. Thank you for being a good person who cares about your pet, and thank you for being a better pet parent. I just want to encourage you this week to think about what we talked about in the mission statement of Better Pet Parents, which is whatever it means for your life and for your family and for your pet, be the hero in your pet's story this week. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.